So if you go on Instagram and you type in Appalachian Trail or Pacific Crest Trail, you're gonna see a lot of photos of big groups of hikers at milestones along the trail, smiling, laughing, having a good time, hugging, which is gross because they probably smell like, you know, you're gonna see people who really look like they're living life to the fullest. What you might not see is the other side of thru hiking, what I like to call the dark side of thru hiking. Make that dramatic, Luke, please. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. For those of you that don't know, I've done quite a bit of thru hiking in my day. I've done the Appalachian Trail. I did most of the PCT, insert sad music here. And the first dark side of thru hiking, this is one that I've struggled with quite a bit. Thru hiking can kind of make you burn out on something you love, aka hiking. It's not that right now I just don't like hiking. I mean, I do hate it, but you know. But if you do too much of any one thing, a lot of the time you're gonna get kind of burnt out on it, or maybe not even burnt out, but you're just gonna lose a little bit of that passion that you once had for it. That can be kind of a sad thing when you've spent so much time thru hiking. So last year I was planning on thru hiking the PCT. I did most of it. I did about 80% of it, but I didn't quite finish because of fires and some other bullshit. A few weeks after I got home, I kind of on a whim decided to go do another thru hike, a much shorter one with Luke, the gentleman editing this video right now, called the Washita Trail in Oklahoma and Arkansas.
What do you got to say?
A lot of the trails just been kind of overgrown and it slows you down and it makes you cry.
Even though it was a last minute thing, I was very excited for it. I was pretty pumped on it. But when we got out there, it just didn't really hit the same. And by the time we finished, I was definitely over backpacking. And that's not a good feeling when you're out on an amazing trail with a close friend of yours. That's really the essence of life, right? Doing fun things with great people. But I didn't really enjoy a good chunk of that trail. I didn't hate it. I wasn't miserable, but I wasn't feeling it. And I think that's a product of the fact that I had just hiked so much that year and previous years. And this is a real bummer, not only because you're not having as much fun in the moment, but also because hiking is something I love. Obviously, I have a whole YouTube channel about it, and I've been doing it for over 10 years now. Like, I love it. It's honestly like a huge part of my personality. And so to have these feelings of like being burnt out about it just really sucks, because it just causes you to go for a whole loop in your head. You're like, this is my thing. This is what I do. This is what I love. It's just a weird thing. And not everybody experiences this, especially first-time thru hikers, and even lots of triple crowners, for instance, I'm sure don't experience this, but a lot of people do. I think it's just one of the dark sides of thru hiking. You just do it so much, you have to, in order to complete a thru hike or multiple thru hikes. Eventually, you just get a little burnt out. One of the other dark sides of thru hiking is the toll that it takes on your body. And this is going to be particularly true if you're not staying hydrated. That's right, this video is sponsored by Drink Element, who is the best electrolyte drink mix company out there. It's not even close. When you're hiking and backpacking, especially thru hiking, it's so important that you replace your electrolytes, because you're going to be sweating a lot. You're climbing up those mountains. You're dripping. Drinking just plain water isn't really enough, because if you don't replace the electrolytes that you're losing, your muscles are going to cramp up, you're going to get fatigued, you're not going to be able to hike to your full abilities. So it's very important, but it's also important that you replace those electrolytes with a product that is actually good for you. This Drink Element has 0 sugar. The only things that it does have are the electrolytes that you need to stay healthy and stay hydrated. And dude, it tastes the best. I've been talking all about grapefruit salt lately, which is a new flavor they have, which is probably my favorite, but I also want to give some love to raspberry salt. This is a slept-on flavor. If those sound too basic for you, let's say you want to step outside the box and try something a little different, you're in luck, because Drink Element has crazy awesome flavors like chocolate, salt, lemon, habanero, mango, chili. So if this sounds good to you, you want to go to drinkelement.com/KyleHatesHiking. That's drinklmnt.com/KyleHatesHiking. And when you do that through my link, you're going to get a sample pack thrown in with your order for no extra cost. It's a great way to support the channel, and it's a great way to keep yourself hydrated when you're on the trail. So back to the dark sides. It's been my experience that, how do I say this? Through hiking, I don't think it's good for you. Physically, anyways. Mentally, sure. There's no way that walking for thousands of miles in one shot, up and over steep, rugged terrain, not showering, not eating properly. I'm not saying it's a death sentence, but I feel like it's taking a toll on my body. Whether it's knee aches, feet problems are probably the biggest issue that I've had over the years.
Like, this shit is hard. It's hard on your body. It's hard on your feet.
I remember thinking back to the PCT last year where you're just on your feet all day and my feet would just ache generally in various spots throughout the day at various times. I just remember thinking like, man, I just can't wait to get off my feet. Not just because it hurt, it just felt wrong. I felt like your feet shouldn't be aching like this. And like I said, it's not just feet.
I've got bruises, big bruises on both of my hips.
Knee problems, or even sometimes my back would hurt from carrying my backpack, especially on longer resupply stretches or times when I had to carry a lot of water.
My back and my shoulder is getting sore.
And like I said, you're not showering, which I feel like probably isn't great for your skin.
It's hard on your skin, covered in dirt and sunscreen and sweat.
I got stung by a lot of hornets. Okay, I'm kind of reaching now, but I've talked to so many through hikers, the people I meet on trail and people I meet through the podcast, Trail Tales, which you should check out, and just making content. Then let me know in the comments if this has been your experience as well. But I feel like there's so many habitual through hikers out there who just have constant, like, lingering injuries or pain. And it's usually not enough to really slow them down, but it's still there and it just doesn't go away. There's also been a few studies on the health effects of through hiking, which have come back with not the best results, although these studies, and I don't know how much weight I would put in them, but they certainly did come to a bad conclusion.
We're just beating the shit out of ourselves out here.
But it's not all bad. Through hiking is an amazing thing, obviously, despite these downsides. And it can actually be so amazing sometimes that it actually kind of makes your regular life suffer a little bit, not only right after you get home, but in the months and even years that follow. You hear the term post-trail depression talked about quite a bit, but I don't think that many people talk about like the long-term implications in your regular life. The conversation is usually only concentrated on that immediate time, the first couple weeks and months after you get home. But it's been my experience that through hiking really kind of shifts your perspective a lot, even beyond those first couple months. And sometimes it can make your life seem a little bit dull. Now, maybe I should just speak for myself here, but let me know if you've experienced this too after a through hike. And certainly it's not everybody that experiences this. When you go, this is so weird for me to talk about, dude, but like when you go out and do a through hike, you do something amazing, and then you just come back and you're living regular life again. You're surrounded by people that can't really relate to it, and you don't get a chance to go back out there. It's hard to not compare sometimes. It's hard not to think back and be like, oh, 3 years ago on this day, I was hiking through Shenandoah National Park with my through hiking homies, and we were having a blast. We were, almost halfway down the trail, just living it up. And then here I am 3 years later, sitting in a cubicle or my basement working, and it's just not the same sometimes. And a lot of it depends on your perspective too, but it's hard to explain this. It can just kind of make your regular life seem a little dull, especially if you can't get out and do another through hike or even just do regular hikes and regular adventures and stuff like that. Another dark side of through hiking, and this one has been talked about quite a bit, but it's such a big one that I had to include it. Surviving on hiker food for months at a time, it just sucks. And it's gotten worse over the years. When I did the long trail in 2016, that's only a 3-week hike. And so I was happy to eat north sides and bullshit for 3 weeks. And then going into the Appalachian Trail in 2018, I wasn't worried about it at all. But then before the PCT last year in 2022, dude, I was not looking forward to the food at all. It sucked. I got sick of everything. I never really truly enjoyed a meal while I was on trail. Of course, you go into town and you pig out, and I definitely enjoyed that. But for long through hikes like the AT or the PCT or the CDT or the North Country Trail, nobody hikes that. Some people should hike that. Surviving on this food for so long. I'm no nutritionist. I don't really know much about diet. It just can't be good for you to be eating salty, dehydrated food, tons and tons of sugar. I don't know, dude, you're not getting enough protein a lot of the time. It just can't be good for you. And to be clear, I do know that it is possible to through hike while eating healthy food, and some people do that and they're successful with it. I would like to do that in the future, but it's hard. Like, I tried on the PCT at the beginning, and I wasn't even like super healthy either. I was just trying to eat healthier than I had on the AT. I gave up. And maybe that's a me problem. It probably is. I just wasn't getting enough calories. It's already kind of difficult to get yourself to eat a lot of food out there sometimes, especially again at the beginning, when the only food you have to look forward to is like healthy food. That can just be hard. I just couldn't get enough calories, and so I resorted back to tons of potato chips and lots of candy, Reese's Pieces. Those things are good, and just dehydrated, processed, packaged BS. One of the things that I was looking forward to the most when I got home from the PCT, I was so looking forward to just getting home and being able to eat healthy food again, have a regular diet, not be eating so much junk food, not be eating so many calories. And I think that really says something about the mental effects and maybe by extension the physical effects of eating hiker food for so many months in a row. And another huge dark side of through hiking, the fact that when you're gone for months and months and months, and this could apply to other things too, but obviously this is a through hiking video, being away from home and being away from your friends and your family and all of the things you like to do in regular life kind of sucks. It's kind of a dark side. And for some people that might be a good thing. For a lot of people, obviously you love your family, you love your friends, and it can be very hard.
Don't even get me started on the mental side of things, just being out here for so long, away from home. A lot of that stuff has been getting to Flossie, more so than it has been getting to me, but it'd be nice to be home, don't get me wrong.
You get FOMO, fear of missing out. You miss birthdays and weddings and even just fun hangs that all your other friends were there for that you heard about later that you couldn't experience. You miss so much. It is really one of the biggest sacrifices that you make in order to through hike. My family's always been incredibly supportive, which I'm very grateful. My hiking partner on the PCT and the AT, Flossie, who most of you guys know.
There's a warmth that's coming from everybody. I love trail days, baby.
His family was always super supportive, and I know he appreciated that as well. When we were on the PCT last year, Flossie had just some family stuff going on back home. I'll just say that. Some stuff that he really wished he could have been there for, and he missed a lot of it because he was out hiking. And his family the whole time was telling him that he should stay out there. And like I said, they were so supportive. They're amazing people. I've met most of them at this point. I know that was hard for him, missing that. And so this really is a sacrifice and a dark side of through hiking that I just haven't really talked about too much. There's still been plenty of times where things happen back home that I couldn't be there for, that I wish that I had, and just the general missing your family, missing your friends, even just missing your home. And it really just is kind of a bummer sometimes. With all that said, I'm not trying to dissuade you from through hiking. If anything, maybe the opposite, like maybe knowing this stuff or hearing a perspective on some of these dark sides will actually help you prepare for them when you go out on a through hike. It's just good to be aware of this stuff, and I think it's good to talk about it. So let me know in the comments what some of your guys' dark sides of through hiking are, things that I didn't include in this video, because this stuff is so largely personal. I'm sure we could all each come up with our own list, and it would probably, a lot of it anyways, would be different. Let me know your thoughts, let me know your comments, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel and help me reach my goal of 300,000 subscribers. Thank you very much, everybody.